students. I'm pleased to say that we have Lisbeth Harbo from, did I say it right that time? Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Lisbeth, who's with us all the way from Stockholm and works with a research institute called Nordregio, and we have some of their materials in our course. Lisbeth, welcome and thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Could you just tell us a little bit about your research interests?
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, so I'm a geographer by profession, and in general I'm interested in disparities between regions, whether it's municipalities or between settlements or between countries, for that sake. My particular interests are population movements, migration, gender issues, and then how this affects urban and regional development in general.
Mm. And you do most of your research, I believe, on what's called the Nordic Arctic now,
yes,
which is receiving a lot of attention globally,
yes.
The Arctic, for various reasons.
Yeah.
What are some of the key recent trends in population trends for the Nordic Arctic, and what countries does that cover?
In the Nordic Arctic, so the Nordic Arctic as a pan-region is Greenland, Iceland, the Faroe Islands, the most northern part of Norway, and Sweden and Finland. That's how we label it within our field. Yeah. The general trends are quite similar to the rest of the Nordic, but at a slower rate. That's growing population, and it's growing mainly due to immigration rather than natural growth rates.
What about internal migration? What's happening
Yeah,
there?
that's a huge part of internal outmigration. So if you split the population groups into original population and international migration, you see that the original population is migrating out of the Nordic Arctic and to the bigger cities, which are located to the south.
Mm. What are some of the effects that this outmigration is having on the smaller places, the smaller villages and towns,
yeah.
In the remote north in particular?
Yeah, what we see is a centralization trend, so it may not be necessarily that all population, of course, is moving south, but they stay within the region, but they locate in the largest towns and cities, also within the Nordic region, which may be the capitals in Reykjavik, Nuuk and in the Faroe Islands, but also the more major regional centres in the north of Sweden, Finland and Norway.
And are there any sort of differences in the gendered migration patterns that we see in this overall scheme of things?
Yes, in general the outmigration of domestic migrants from the region is higher among the females. It doesn't mean that the males don't migrate, but they do. Just to a larger degree, and it's primarily the population in the education age bracket, so between 18 and 24, and to some extent also up until the 30s. Yeah.
All right, and a last little trick question for you, seeing as you're visiting us here in Darwin, what are a couple of things you've noticed about Darwin in comparison to your part of the world where you live?
Well, one obvious difference is, of course, the climate. I mean, since the Nordic Arctic, as it says, is dominated by snow and the cold for a large part of the year, but which affects, of course, the way the urban areas are structured and vegetation and things like that, of course. But, I mean, it's not a completely different world. I mean, it doesn't strike as you know, an opposite to what we see in the northern communities, in our northern communities.
Now, I did say one final thing, but yeah. You touched on climate change, yeah. and I know that even amongst researchers who are doing climate change studies, there is some debate on the extent,
yeah.
The causes and the consequences. And of course, we're having the same debates here. Your snow's melting, we're getting less rain, perhaps.
Yeah.
What's your personal view on the climate change situation for your part of the world?
Yeah, the thing is with climate change, I think in the melting of the ice and the ice sheets in Greenland and things like that. I don't think there's so much doubt about whether that's happening or not. Of course, it can be debated whether this is just a period of time where it's melting away and then it will grow again as it has been doing in the previous years. But the big question is, of course, what does climate change mean to the small communities? And there it's a lot more varied, where you will have the climate, and not the skeptics, but the other group of people, the climate change believers, that they will think that this has profound negative effect for the small settlements, and that actually may not be the case. It opens up new sea routes that provides opportunities for some of these settlements located on the sea, and also in terms of fishing and other important businesses. It's difficult to predict whether this will have very negative or very positive consequences. As a final thing, perhaps, it's also not a major concern for the local people in the Nordic Arctic, because there are so many other more current issues that they worry about. If you talk to them about climate change worries, I mean, has a longer time span than social
issues.
problems or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. All right, Lisbeth, thank you so much for your time and for speaking to our students today. I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
Okay.
And enjoy your time in Darwin.
Thank you.